Hi, and welcome back to our accessibility series. Today's feature is number 3, and it is about iPad accessibility. We are the AT consultants here at IU17. I'm Dana Vermilia.
And I'm Chris Bear.
And we're glad to have you with us.
So today we're going to be talking about the iPad and the accessibility features or assistive features that are built right into the iPad to help support learners who have low vision, blindness, hearing, motor skill difficulties, and learning needs. The iPad includes built-in apps and accessibility features that support all learners, and we're going to be reviewing some of those features today.
We do want to take a minute and just let you know that we do have a slide deck that supports this presentation. We did not put it into share on the screen today because we want to walk you through the settings and where the accessibility features are at. But please know that you have access to that for support and notes and any questions. It also has our contact information on it.
Okay, so on the iPad, I'm sharing my screen. And on your homepage, if you go to the Settings app, and if you scroll down a little bit, the accessibility feature is right on the side, the left-hand side. So when you open that up, there's the settings are organized by what kind of support they offer. There's vision, physical and motor, hearing, and general. So the first accessibility feature that we're going to discuss is the voiceover, and that's on the very top. That's if I touch that and open that up. So voiceover gives access to the iPad for those who are blind or who have visual difficulties, or even for learners who have dyslexia who need audio feedback. So the voiceover, you can change the speaking rate from fast to slow. So that's down there. You can see that I'm changing that bar. You can also change the speech. The voice can be changed to male or female. There's different options available. You can change the pitch. If I go back. There's also, if you have a student who is using refreshable Braille, this feature can be helpful for that student. So the main idea of voiceover is you can touch an item and it speaks back to you.
I'm going to jump in there just for a minute. With the voiceover, a lot of that is paired with multitasking gestures that are also built in. As you can see up toward the top, it lists some of those multitasking gestures and how to just, when voiceover is on, how to go in and out of that. So take note of that if you're using that feature. I am
going to turn it on. If you turn it on, it'll show you how voiceover works, but I am going to cancel that. They also have, if you turn that on, there also is a voiceover practice that you can practice with going back. The next feature that we're going to discuss is the zoom. So the zoom, I already have that turned on. So if you double tap, a zoom magnifier comes up and you can move that anywhere on the iPad. So the student who has low vision has the screen magnified for them.
Chris, did you have to double tap with 3 fingers or just 1?
I'm sorry, double tap with three fingers.
That's and also another one of our multitasking gestures.
And then to get rid of that, you double tap with 3 again. And also under the zoom feature, there's the keyboard shortcuts. So if the feature is the magnifier, and if I touch that, I already have that turned on. If you use 3 fingers to tap on the iPad, the magnifier comes up, and you can move that magnifier anywhere on the iPad. So a student with low vision can have access to the iPad and be able to read it better. And then to get rid of that magnifier, it's a 3 tap on the iPad again. Both
zoom and magnifier are quite similar, but zoom does offer some different features of zooming the whole screen and not just bringing in that magnifier piece. So you can kind of play around with those to see which one meets the needs of your student better.
I can also show you if you're using notes or if you're using a different app, you can also magnify within apps. Going back, you can change the display and the text size, so you can make the text full print. Just turn that on, turn it off, it goes away. You can change the text and make it larger or smaller for students with low vision or vision difficulties. You can change button shapes. You can also increase the contrast in the iPad. And you can also do, for students who have vision difficulties, you can change the color background and invert the colors. So they have that high contrast in the background, the black, and a lighter text color. There's another classic invert. And you can also look at the color filters and change them. You can change the colors if the student needs a different color in order to be able to help them read better. They can do that within the iPad. And then the spoken content, you can have that turned on. So if a student needs that speak selection, they need the text read to them, you can have that. And then when they're reading on an article or on the website, they can double tap with one pointer finger and that speak selection will come up. And I can when you use the spoken content feature, if you hit speak selection or speak screen, then you can select text and that text will be read to the student. So I'm going to go out of that and go into a website. And then if I hold and highlight the text that I want to have read to me, that speak selection comes up. So you can see the bar up top, and then if you just hit speak,
soil. However, the red planet's surface, which has been drastically altered by volcanoes, impact craters, crustal movement, and atmospheric conditions such as dust storms, is also home to a wide range of fascinating topographical features. High among the list is Valles Marineris, the solar system's longest and deepest known canyon.
So I did highlight the whole paragraph, but you can just even highlight a word, or you can highlight a sentence. So that can be read to the student, can have the text read to them. And the typing feedback, if you turn that on, then the characters will be spoken to the student. It could also speak words if a student needs that. The last feature under the vision is audio descriptions. So if you turn that on, it'll play audio descriptions if available.
That brings us to our physical and motor accessibility features. There's a lot of great features in this section. The first one is in the touch area, and if we go into the touch, assistive touch is one of the features you might really appreciate. I'm going to actually, since Chris is doing the demonstrating from her iPad, I'm going to let her walk us through that assistive touch, which you can customize.
So the assistive touch can be used to guide and draw attention and control different devices. So you can have custom features for different functions. So if I turn that on, a little button, this touch button will appear. So you can do that anywhere that you'd like to on the screen. So there's different custom actions that are already built in that if you want If you want that button to be a screenshot, if a student has dexterity difficulties and they can't hold the two buttons to do a screenshot, they can mark that, and then that button will become the screenshot for the student. So if we go back, and I just took a screenshot of that page. And it also has double tap options that if a student needs to get to the home page quickly, or if they need to lock their screen, they can make the double tap and use that assistive touch for that feature function. So they can also use a double tap, and there's lots of different options for that assistive touch. If they need to get to the home screen quickly, they can touch the home screen, and then a double tap will work for the student to get back to the home page. You can also create new gestures for that assistive touch button. And one thing that I have done with my students is I created a new gesture. So if you touch that, and you can make an assistive touch button, if you just new circle. And then I'm going to save that. And I'm going to name it pointer. And then save. And then if I am screen sharing my iPad with a student and I'd like them to model vocabulary words on an iPad.
We're having a little technical difficulty with the screen sharing piece of this, so I will actually demonstrate. If you see when I touch the little dot that we had there, it brings up what I can do from that, and I'm going to touch this custom because I did my custom, and I called mine point, so I'm going to touch that custom point. And then when I choose one of these words, you can see how it does the gray custom point.
Go. On. A. Kangaroo.
So you can see how that kind of highlights with that gray button when I do that custom, because I created that custom gesture just like Chris demonstrated a few minutes ago. If we go back into our settings and our accessibility, continue into our touch area of our accessibility features. The haptic touch allows you to press for different lengths of time. So that can be slow or fast. And that might be, the haptic touch is what you use to pop open the different features of apps. So you know how you can hold it down longer and it pops up the options like of your camera. So if I come here and I use my haptic touch and it pops up that list, there I did it extra long and it pops it up so I can delete apps. That haptic touch you can adjust the speed of as well. Again, you can use your touch accommodation settings, and that will allow you to adjust how your screen responds. So again, there's a hold duration. We can ignore a repeated touch. So for some of our students that like to touch things 5 and 10 times, although that does depend on the app on whether it responds to that setting being turned on or off. There's also if you have those kiddos that come in with a whole hand maybe, or they come in and they rest their hand on the screen and they drag to what they want and then they release, that might be the final touch location you want to use. Or you might have that kiddo that comes in and touches what they want and then their hand falls down, or they open up their hand. So for that kiddo, you might want to use the initial touch location to ignore some of those extra features being touched and the wrong app or icon being chosen. So the tap assistants can support you with that. You can also set how long you have to hold an icon before it responds to that touch. So if you have somebody that touches a lot of things before they get to what they want, and that might also be beneficial. Now if we take a look back in our physical and motor, we have the switch control option. You can actually connect Bluetooth switches to the iPad. You can also get a switch interface for the iPad so that you can use switches, and the iPad itself can be set up to be used as the switch. That's a little bit trickier, so it's probably not what we recommend the most, but it is an option. The recipes you see there can be recipes put in, and the recipes help dictate what happens when the switch is pressed. So if you need a switch to be used as the home button, or a switch to be used to turn a page, a switch to be used to select the item it's on, those are all different recipes that can be placed to make sure that the switches are doing what you want them to do. There can be scanning. So if it works, the iOS is set up to use switch scanning so that it will highlight different apps and go through what's on the screen, and you can use a switch to select that. What you do need to know is, again, the developer of the app itself has to make it switch accessible to allow it to work with selecting that app and work within the app itself. So there are some limitations on this, but it's something worth trying to see if it works if you have a student with those needs. You can set the loops, you can set the repeat, and you can also set the long press or short press kind of features for all of the switch scanning as well, to help really customize that to meet the student's needs. When we look at voice control, if you turn that on, this allows the user to control the iPad with the voice. This is kind of along the lines of your Hey Siri as well. So you can set up the voice control. It'll respond to your voice then. So you want to make sure you try to set that up with the user and not somebody else, so it's responding to them. And then again, you can customize some of those commands. You can customize the vocabulary. If there's a certain way that your student says something, you can program that in so it understands that. And you can adjust the features for the feedback as well. You'll see that continuous overlay, and that will the overlay will allow numbers and names and things over the contents on this screen so that you have a quick way to give that voice command for accessing the different features. When we look at the home button, this adjusts the speed of our home button. So if you have a kid that has a slow press, you can adjust that speed to slower and faster. By default, slow and slowest. And then also that press and hold to access Siri, you can have on or off. With the Apple TV remote, that's just a feature that allows you to use your Apple TV remote keys or arrows to replace the touch features of the iPad. Next feature is pointer control. Within that, you can increase your contrast, you can hide the pointer, you can adjust the color and the size of your pointer. All of these, as well as your scrolling speed. So all of these, again, might help meet the needs to increase success for some of our learners. And then the last feature under physical and motor is our keyboards feature. The keyboards allows you many options. So within your keyboard, you have full keyboard access can be turned on. That's for also if you're using an external keyboard. So you might turn that on. The other thing you can do is you can add keyboards, but you can have keys repeat or not repeat. So again, if you have that student that presses the same key 4 and 5 times before moving on, that might be something to look at adjusting. Sticky keys and slow keys are also two options that you can use. The sticky keys allows for your modifier keys like Shift, Control, Alt, and Windows to be set without having to hold that key down. So that's, again, if you're using that external keyboard, you can have sticky keys on, so once you press it, you don't have to hold it while you hit the other keys. And slow keys allows you to adjust the time between when a key is pressed and when it is activated. So that gives a little bit of extra time for that. You can also have it show the lowercase keys or have that off. If you're using that Shift key, it would show the lowercase or not that way. Then we're going to move on to our hearing accessibility features. This setting allows for compatible hearing aids to connect directly to the iPads for our hearing devices. So obviously I don't have any right now, so it's not going to find any, but if so, that would allow for direct connection. The sound recognition will listen for sounds and use the device to notify you when those sounds might be recognized. For example, if the telephone's ringing, it might pick that up and let you know that the telephone is ringing. They don't recommend, of course, that you rely on that for emergency situations like the fire alarm and things like that. Then you come to your audio and visual features. They allow for your headphone accommodations and also the mono audio. So right now you might get parts in one ear, like I have in my earbuds. So pieces are coming through on my right and pieces are coming through on my left, like if I'm watching something or listening to music, things like that. With the mono audio, they play the same content. So it's not just parts in each, it's all of it coming in the same. And you can also balance that left to right. So if you have a kiddo that has hearing in one ear and not the other, or vice versa, you can adjust that to meet those needs. And the last one in our hearing section is your subtitles and captioning. So this allows you to turn on closed captioning. So again, they work when they're available. And it allows you to adjust your styles for how they look for your closed captioning, the size of the text and things like that. You can see as we scroll through how that changes them. And you can even create your own. And then it also allows you to show audio transcriptions for some of those announcements and home screen type notifications.
The last tab are general accessibility features. The first accessibility feature that we'd like to show you is the guided access. This is an iPad in a single app, and it's a great way to keep a student on task when using an app. You can't get out of the app when you start using the guided access. So if you triple click the home button, the guided access will come up. Start on the right-hand side in the top.
And I'm going to just pause for a second. If you see, I have lots of grayed out sections there, and I can erase those. But for students that kind of perseverate on different things, you can put those areas in. You actually have the ability to draw areas that you want to hide. So if I don't want the student putting on the hold that thought, I can circle that and it will gray that area out. So then once I hit the start, they won't have access to that point.
And then you do have to put in a passcode. So now guided access is turned on. So the student is only able to stay in this app and they're not able to go back to the home page or go into a different app. When you're finished using it, you just have to triple click again the home button.
I'm sorry, I'm pausing you. You can see when I just hit the home button one time, it just tells me at the top guided access is enabled and to triple click to exit. And it comes up for my passcode to come in to exit. And then we're out.
And there's also the Siri setting, which listens for voice output. So if you hold that button and you say, hey Siri, what is the weather today? You can say, hey Siri, show me an article on George Washington. And then that will come up on the iPad and they can use their voice to get that article.
And then our last is the accessibility shortcut, and this gives the features for your triple click on your home button. It assigns those features. So right now you can see I have guided access selected. So when I triple click my home button, it activates the guided access. You want to make sure this is set when you're using those features. But also if I added, maybe I wanted to add voiceover because I am somebody that needs voiceover, I can add that feature and I can have more than one assigned there. And when I do that, then when I triple click my home button, it will bring up those options for whether I want to go into guided access or voiceover. I'll see if that shows.
Voiceover on. Settings. Landscape. Home button to the left.
So when I did that, it only turned on voiceover.
Voiceover off.
If I triple click it again, it turns voiceover off. But if I go into maybe speak for yourself again and triple click, let's see what happens. There it gives me the option, do I want to put this into guided access or do I want to put it into voiceover? And I'm going to say I want to do guided access for this app. And it automatically started guided access because I had already set those features the last time through of what I wanted to happen. If I need to adjust that, you can do that when you go into your end screen. I can click guided access again. I can put in my passcode. That's where, again, it brings up that I can end or resume guided access, but that's where I can make adjustments if I need to block something out, if I need to, wait a second, how did I get a circle over my keyboard there? This kid needs access to his keyboard. That kind of thing. And then I can either resume or end with those features. And I'm going to turn my voiceover back off because I only need guided access for right now. We did, in our slide deck, we did include a tutorial for guided access. So if you need extra support with that, you can check that out. We do find that that's really a beneficial program for a lot of our students. So we encourage you to give it a try if you have a student that would benefit from that.
Thank you for listening to this tutorial on using an iPad accessibility features. And if you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to contact Dana or myself, and we'll be glad to help you.
Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.